Hello out there, all my nutritionistas. It's Michelle here. I'm back with you this week to talk about our Module 5, Week 4 lesson, which is recovery and sleep. And you might be wondering what that has to do with the nutrition course. And of course, we will get into that tonight. Recovery and sleep are key to you guys reaching your nutrition goals. So actually, speaking of goals, we added one extra week to this module. So next week, you will be revisiting those goals that you set in the first couple weeks of the course and to track and see how close you are to achieving them. Or maybe you've decided that you would like to change your goals, which is totally acceptable. They're your goals. So that's what's going to be going on next week for the final week of this module. This week, we're going to do, like I said, recovery and sleep. And let me get to the screen here where we discuss what we're going to cover today. So like I said, you might be wondering what this has to do with your nutrition and your nutrition goals. And we'll actually really get into some detail on that today. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the 3 keys to recovery. 2 of the 3 items we've covered in previous modules. So we'll briefly touch on those today, and we'll start in on the 3rd one and really get into depth on that. We're going to also talk about how sleep affects different things going on in your body, like inflammation, body composition, performance, and recovery and gains. And I spelled gains with a Z on purpose because that's like hashtag gains, okay? We'll also talk about our brains and sleep and what sleep does for our brains and how our brain processes knowing when it is time to sleep and be awake. We'll cover 8 tips for getting better sleep. We'll talk about napping and also how to monitor and track your sleep quality. So that's what we're going to cover today. A lot of things to talk about, so let's go ahead and get going. So first we're going to talk about those 3 keys to recovery. And like I mentioned, 2 of the 3 we've already talked about. So we've talked about hydration. We've also talked about kind of some basic nutrition. And the 3rd, of course, is sleep. So hydration has a myriad of positive health benefits, but like we mentioned, it means drinking water and lots of it, and most other liquids would be excluded from this. So by drinking plenty of water, coupled with proper nutrition, your body will have all the supplies necessary to run at peak performance. So this means improved metabolism, increased fat loss, and growth of lean muscle mass. Without sufficient hydration, your body hoards water for use by the vital organs like the brain. Water is also necessary for optimal exercise. So if you feel like you've had a bad day in the gym, you might want to look back at how much water you drank that day, and you will likely notice a correlation between optimal hydration and performance. So if you want more on this, go ahead and check out Nunu's talk last week on hydration. He went into great detail and depth on this topic. Like I said, we're just going to briefly touch on it today, and that was actually all we'll talk about right there. Same with nutrition. We have talked about this probably like the first 3 to 4 modules, very in depth. Nutrition, like sleep, is highly dependent on the person. So a good place to start is kind of CrossFit's food recommendation, which is base your diet on garden vegetables, especially greens, and then add some lean meats, nuts, and seeds, shooting for little starch and no sugar. And that's about as simple as you can get. Many have observed that keeping grocery shopping to the perimeter of the store and avoiding the middle aisles is a great way to protect your health. And we've talked about this all along, right? Real food versus food products. Food should be perishable, and that's what we consider real food. So anything with a long shelf life should be suspect. And if you follow these simple guidelines, you will benefit from nearly all that can be achieved through nutrition. And we'll talk about in upcoming modules ways to start tweaking your nutrition formula a little bit more, but for now we're sticking to those real food principle, okay? So this CrossFit nutrition prescription is a good starting point for 90% of the population. If you know that you have a higher exercise intensity and duration than normal, you could add more starchy items such as rice and sweet potatoes, but you would want to eat those within an hour of training, okay? If you cannot recover from your training, then you aren't getting maximal return on your investment for your time spent in the gym. And there's really no sense in doing more and more. So I'm going to give you a few guidelines to follow so you can maximize your body's ability to recover and make those extra gym sessions worth it. Okay, so if your nutrition is dialed in, and your hydration is dialed in and you're still not recovering, listen to your body, okay? If you're sore, if you're fatigued, rest, okay? And sometimes we'll schedule, and you notice in the Invictus programming, we schedule an active recovery day or sometimes even 2 into the week. So an active recovery day or a rest day doesn't need to mean that you do nothing, okay? So on those days, we're looking for low impact, what we call level 1 or 2 activities that you can participate in on your day outside of the gym. So level 1 and 2 activities are those you can perform while still carrying on a conversation. So those would be things like walking, hiking, shooting baskets, maybe even surfing, some light swimming, yoga, those kind of things, right? I wouldn't recommend talking during yoga class just because you're able. That's usually frowned upon. But the idea is that you could carry on a conversation if you needed to. And those are rest and recovery type activities, okay? The third component is, in my opinion, one of the most important, probably the most important, and that's sleep. So if your hydration's on point, your nutrition's on point, and you're getting those rest and recovery days in, let's start addressing that sleep. And sleep needs are going to vary based on the individual, but most people will benefit from sleeping until they feel refreshed. So whether that means 7 hours or 10 hours, it really depends on the individual, and you might have to kind of scope it out or mess with it a little bit and figure out what your body needs for recovering time. And some really amazing things happen when you're asleep, things that help your body recover from exercise, and then we'll also get into the nutrition component. As far as the exercise and recovery though, some did you knows that during sleep, your blood pressure drops, breathing becomes slower, muscles are relaxed, blood supply to muscles increases. This allows tissue growth and repair to occur. Energy is restored and hormones are released. So in particular, growth hormone and testosterone, both are essential for muscle growth and development. So if you're not hitting those cycles of sleep, which we'll go over here in a minute, then you're not getting the full benefit of your workouts because those hormones are not being released. Your body can't repair itself and you're not fully restored the next day. And we all want to be healthy. We all work hard in the gym. We pay attention to our food. But how often do we jeopardize our sleep? Okay, so if this sounds familiar, there are some serious side effects of sleep deprivation that you should be aware of. And we'll start to get into those in this lesson here. So I want to get into some basics first. Let's start with the stages of sleep. And this will just kind of give you guys an idea of what's going on at night, which part of the night it's happening, and why it's important. So you see my picture here. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail than it has in the descriptions there for each stage, but this will give you something to follow along with. So during sleep, we usually pass through 5 phases of sleep. Stages 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's listed as stage 5 here, but it's also known as REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement. So no, not the band REM, but rapid eye movement. And these stages progress in a cycle. They start at stage 1 and they continue through REM, and then the cycle starts over again. So basically around every 90 minutes throughout the night, you're restarting that stage 1 sleep cycle. We spend almost 50% of our total sleep time in stage 2 sleep, okay? About 20% in REM and the remaining 30% in other stages. Whereas infants, by contrast, spend about half their sleep time in REM. Just a little fun fact for you, okay? So let's get into each stage of sleep and talk about what happens during that stage so you guys can get a little bit better understanding of why it's important to sleep restfully throughout the night without waking up different times of night, because that's going to affect different things, or you might have different side effects because of when you're waking up. So during stage 1, this is our light sleep. We drift in and out of sleep and we can be awakened easily, okay? Our eyes move very slowly and muscle activity slows. People awakened from stage 1 sleep often remember fragmented visual images, and many also experience sudden muscle contractions, often preceded by a sensation of starting to fall. These sudden movements are similar to the jump when we wake up startled. So I always think about when I'm on an airplane, this happens a lot, where I'm kind of just jolted out of sleep, or I have that falling sensation. So that's stage 1 sleep. I'm waking up during stage 1 sleep when that happens, okay? When we enter stage 2 sleep, our eye movements stop and our brain waves become slower, okay, with occasional bursts of rapid waves called sleep spindles, okay. In stage 3, extremely slow brain waves called delta waves begin to appear, and these are interspersed with smaller, faster waves. By stage 4, the brain produces delta waves almost exclusively. It's very difficult to wake someone during stages 3 and 4, which together are called deep sleep, okay? There is no movement or no eye movement or muscle activity during these stages. And people awakened during deep sleep do not adjust immediately and often feel groggy and disoriented for several minutes after they wake up. And even this is the stage of sleep where some children experience bedwetting, night terrors, and a lot of people do their sleepwalking during this deep sleep, okay? When we switch into REM sleep, our breathing becomes more rapid, irregular, and shallow. Our eyes jerk rapidly in various directions, rapid eye movement, okay? And our limb muscles become temporarily paralyzed. Our heart rate increases, our blood pressure rises, and males develop penile erections. When people awaken during REM sleep, they often describe bizarre and illogical tales, also known as dreams, okay? So that's just a little bit about each of the stages. So when we get into this a little bit more, it'll make more sense. So there are many things that sleep affects, all right? Inflammation, first on our list there. Research indicates that people who get less sleep, which is 6 or fewer hours a night, have higher blood levels of inflammatory proteins than those who get more. And inflammation, as we know, is linked to heart disease, stroke, diabetes, arthritis, and premature aging. If we think about it even further, we ask a lot of our bodies in the gym causing inflammation through movement. So if we aren't sleeping, we aren't recovering, okay? Body composition, that's the one that's gonna ring true to a lot of you guys, and the one that you're probably gonna be most interested in. There's been a lot of research lately, and actually there's a recent study I can send you guys. Researchers at the University of Chicago found that dieters who were well rested lost more fat. So 50%, 56% of their weight loss than those who were sleep deprived, who lost more muscle mass. So people who are well rested are losing fat. People who are not well rested are losing muscle. They may shed similar amounts of total weight, but one is muscle and one is fat, okay? So dieters in this study also felt more hungry when they got less sleep. And sleep and metabolism are controlled by the same sectors of the brain, okay? So when you're sleepy, certain hormones go up in your blood, and those same hormones drive appetite. So when you do not sleep, you are low on energy, and when you are low on energy, your body begins looking for glucose, which we also know as sugar, and this looking for that for energy to help you through that grueling task during your day, okay? In order to get more glucose, you must eat more glucose, or your body will make it via glucogenesis, okay? And that's where your body will generate glucose from certain non-carbohydrate substrates, usually protein or fat or muscle, in search of glucose to produce energy, okay? So this is where it really becomes important. Okay? In addition to searching for energy, your cortisol, which is your stress hormone, is often high when striving to function on little sleep, okay? So not only are you producing sugar for your body to use, and you're probably eating things that you wouldn't normally eat because you feel hungry, even though you might not actually be, you're producing this cortisol, okay? And excess cortisol directly contributes to excess belly fat. And as a result, your body is looking to boost insulin, all right? So cortisol and insulin are closely tied together. And the insulin is used to help bring down the cortisol since the two oppose each other, okay? And as we all know by now, sugar, of course, boosts insulin, okay? So there's just this cycle going on when we're losing sleep of the insulin boost, the more sugar in the system, and also excess cortisol, okay? And all those things are causing us to gain weight. So studies show that people who are sleep deprived eat more calories than those that receive adequate amounts of sleep each night, okay? And we kind of covered that in a couple topics ago about why that happens. Next on the list is performance. So There's been a lot of studies on this too, and one was from Stanford University, found that college football players who tried to sleep at least 10 hours a night for 7 to 8 weeks improved their average sprint time and had less daytime fatigue and more stamina. So the results of this study reflect previous findings seen in tennis players and swimmers. So there's been a number of studies on this. So in addition, and most importantly, lack of sleep affects our brains. So if we fail to get enough sleep, and our concentration, coordination, memory, and moods suffer throughout the day, therefore affecting our productivity or our performance, okay? And then closely tied to that is the recovery and gains, #gains. So when a person is tired and exhausted, their hormones go crazy and they get out of balance, all right? A small hormonal shift in your body can have a significant impact on your ability to not only lose weight, but also hinder putting on muscle, AKA #gains, all right? Testosterone levels and growth hormone levels elevate during sleep, and this is part of the body's physical repair system. These hormones assist in recovery and strength and fitness gains, okay? And these hormones release after being asleep for about 30 minutes. So the hormone levels elevate every time you go through a certain phase of your sleep cycle. The longer you sleep and the more cycles you go through, the more of these recovery promoting hormones pump through your body. So a study recently conducted on men revealed that just one night of short sleep drastically lowered their testosterone levels in the morning. Okay? So can you imagine what would happen to your testosterone levels if you habitually lack quality sleep? So even getting a 30-minute nap is a big bonus, because now instead of getting this hormone advantage one time a day, a nap makes it twice in one day. So did you get your HGH today? We'll talk about napping here coming up, and how to figure out when to nap and if you should nap and how long to nap, et cetera, and some of the benefits of napping. But most of us in general, we can probably agree that nothing beats a better night's sleep, right? When you wake up after a long night of rest, you feel ready to attack the day head on. Not only does a good night of sleep feel amazing, it's also vital for our day-to-day functions. So like we mentioned, it's our time to recharge and recover in order for us to function both mentally and physically, okay? It's vital that we get enough sleep each night. But the problem that we face, and we all face this, is that we're living in a world full of electronic dominance. Everywhere we look, there are iPhones, Androids, iPads, tablets, computers, and televisions, okay? Electronics have many benefits, of course, and they make our lives much easier in numerous ways. However, that same technology could be hurting our ability to get a good night's sleep. And what do I mean by that? Did everyone notice the little person there in the corner? That's supposed to be me. Shh, turn off the lights. Let's talk about what our brains do and how they play a part in the sleep cycle and just deciding when we should be asleep and awake, okay? The brain has a very important internal clock, and this clock is vital in regulating our sleep patterns by controlling something called the circadian rhythm. The circadian rhythm can be considered our biological schedule, and this biological schedule regulates when our bodies should be awake and active and when we need to rest and recover. However, our circadian rhythm isn't always 100% timely, and thus our bodies will adapt to external signals such as light and darkness to regulate sleep, okay? So we'll talk a little bit about sleeping in the dark. That's our first bullet point there. When the sun goes down, it should mean that our day is winding down and it's almost time to get some sleep, okay? So our brain recognizes this and adapts. It responds to the light and darkness accordingly. Light triggers activity in the brain and signals brain cells to activate. This is why sunlight can wake us from a deep sleep. On the opposite side, darkness is a trigger for our brains to rest and become inactive. Our bodies will secrete melatonin, which is the hormone responsible for signaling us that it's time to get some rest. And it does this when it's dark around us, okay? Disrupting sleep before bed. When we're ready to wind down at night, it's very important that we let our body's natural clock do its job, okay? In order to do this, we need to allow our hormones to level so that our body can secrete melatonin and tell our brains that it's okay to shut down for the night. So when we grab a computer or phone to send that one last email before heading to bed, or to look through Facebook because we're having a hard time falling asleep, we disrupt our sleeping pattern. And our body responds to the light from the screen as if it was daylight and tells our brain that it's time to be up and active. So you're really doing yourself a disservice by doing that. So I want to give you guys some tips on how to get a better night's sleep. And I have, I think, 8 tips today. There we go. And you might have some of your own, and I encourage you to share those in the Facebook member group, okay? So tip number 1, commit to getting a certain amount of sleep each night, okay? Which means try to stay on your sleep schedule, even on weekends. You can't just make up for your partying ways from the weekend by sleeping in one day. So sadly, it does not work like that. So even, when you're out and about and having fun, if you commit to 8 hours a night, commit to 8 hours every night, if that's what you figured out is your best number of sleep hours, okay? Number 2 is to work with your chronotype, or your natural tendency to be a morning person or an evening person. Your hormone regulation will be way more balanced if you honor your normal sleeping patterns. So hopefully you all have enough flexibility in your lives and jobs that you can do this and adhere to this. And I'm sure most of you know if you're a morning or evening person. Me personally, I'm a morning person. I hop right out of bed. I like to work out in the morning before work. I go to my work day, and then by probably this time of night, and once it starts getting dark, I am pretty much done-ski for the night. So I don't try to fight that. I don't try to schedule things after 8 p.m. typically, unless there's a really special occasion. And I just know that I'm going to be my most productive in the morning. So I'm working with my chronotype there. I'm not trying to fight it. Tip number 3, no blue light, or any light for that matter, in your bedroom. Okay, so keep all light out of your room. Go purchase some blackout curtains, cover up the blinking lights in your room, and read an actual book instead of being on the computer. If you're still unable to black out all the light in your room, get yourself a sleep mask. And this is really great for home and travel both, okay? And I actually went so far as to not being able to block out quite all the light with the blackout curtains. There was a little gap, so I took some black shoe polish to my window and I covered it up that way, and my room is pitch black now. If I ever have guests over, I usually wear a sleep mask, because I know if they get up in the middle of the night to flip on the light for the bathroom, that's going to jolt me out of my sleep, and it actually makes me very angry. It must be when I come out of the deep sleep. If I'm jolted awake, I just don't know where I am. It's that confusion. And then, so I combat that by making sure I wear that sleep mask. And I found it super helpful when I travel as well, because you never know what the surroundings are going to be. Or even on an airplane, it's really great to have that sleep mask so you can catch a couple winks to get your napping in then. Tip number 4, and we had a whole lesson on this, which was meditation. Try meditating before bed. This will help you to get as calm a mind as possible. And a lot of times clearing your mind paired with slow, deep breaths, trying to get maybe 6 breaths per minute, this will help you relax. Okay. Number 5, experiment with reducing your caffeine intake. And this might mean over the course of the whole day in general, or maybe cutting back after lunchtime, those afternoon caffeine breaks. A lot of times people who drink caffeine after noon or 3, whatever it is, you kind of figure out your cutoff time. They have trouble falling asleep at night, because even though you might not feel awake, there's still that stimulant coursing through your veins. And I know for me, my cutoff time is noon. So if I'm going to have any coffee or tea, it's going to be in the morning. And after that, if I'm feeling tired, then I'm going to hit a little quick nap instead of caffeine. So we'll talk, like I said, we'll talk about napping here in a minute, but you might want to experiment with the caffeine intake. Tip number 6 is to pick a consistent bedtime. And this is how you play in with your circadian rhythm. It is a rhythm. It's on its own little clock. And if you're changing it up all the time, your body doesn't know what's going on. So if you're trying to go to sleep when you're normally awake, or vice versa, it's really confused. And you notice if you ever change schedules at work, that it might take you a week or even 2 weeks to get used to that new schedule. Or for example, when you travel, and we call that like the jet lag, but it's your body trying to figure out what time zone are we in? What's going on? What time is it? Am I supposed to be asleep or awake? And trying to adjust to that. So just be cognizant of that, okay? Tip number 7, you could try some earplugs or background noise. So A lot of times those sleep masks will come with some earplugs in the package. You can order them on Amazon, and I'll share you guys with a bunch of links of the stuff that we've talked about today as far as the studies and the products. But if you don't order the sleep mask, you can just go to your local drugstore, and they always have the earplugs there. I like to use the earplugs when traveling again, so especially like on an airplane, you can get a little couple winks in with your sleep mask and earplugs. Or if you're sharing a hotel room with someone, those are good items to have. At home, I like to run a fan or even like my window AC unit, and that provides just enough background noise. It's kind of like that white noise if you have like a white noise machine or something like that. But my bedroom's on an alley, so one, the light coming in, which is why I got the blackout curtains, that would wake me up. And then my other combatant to the alley noise is having a fan going. And sadly, I think someone could probably break into my house and I would have no clue because I'm so out because of this background noise. So it works like a charm for me. You might give that a try for yourself, okay? And then after if you've tried all those things and you're still having trouble falling asleep at night or staying asleep, you can try supplementation. So supplementation is always going to be our last resort. And that's why we're leaving the supplementation module for later on in the program, because we want you guys to try all the natural ways and not look for the shortcuts right off. Like I said, though, assuming you're doing all these listed above and you're still not having great quality sleep or falling asleep quickly, then here are a few supplements that seem to work quite well for enhancing sleep. So Coach Calvin and I have both done a great deal of research into this, and we've already seen great success with the people to whom we've prescribed this protocol. So if you want to give it a try, here it is. The first three are Calvin's, or sorry, three of the four are Calvin's suggestions, and I threw in my own that I think will help, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so I'll give you that protocol. We'll send this out to you as well with links to the products or some brands that we recommend. Okay, so here's our protocol. And this should be taken about 30 to 60 minutes before bedtime. Okay. And we're looking for taking 3 grams of glycine or 10 grams of collagen protein. Okay, glycine is an amino acid that also acts as a neurotransmitter. So multiple studies have found that a dose of about 3 grams before bed can improve sleep quality, cognitive function, as well as reduce daytime fatigue. So we recommend taking 3 grams of quality glycine supplement or about 10 grams of a good collagen supplement before you go to sleep. So just so you know, collagen is approximately 30% glycine, so you'll get about 3 grams of glycine from 10 grams of collagen, okay? Magnesium, 300 to 400 milligrams of magnesium, either capsules or powder, okay? And the reason is magnesium is a cofactor in hundreds of enzymatic reactions throughout the body. So common symptoms of deficiency include muscle cramps, weakness, insomnia, loss of appetite, restlessness, irritability, sugar cravings, fatigue, and high blood pressure. So we recommend taking this 300 to 400 milligrams of a quality magnesium supplement like Calm Magnesium, or if you prefer a powder, Thorne Research has a great magnesium citrate product if you prefer capsules, okay? The one that I added in here is the vitamin D3 in the liquid or gel cap form at anywhere from 2,500 to 5,000 international units, and that's how they're going to measure the vitamin D on the package, okay? And the reason is I added this one in is because vitamin D is actually more like a hormone than a vitamin or a drug, and it's actually what's produced by the body when exposed to sunlight, and most of us don't produce enough each day. We'll say we're looking to get 25,000 IU a day. So even if we're frequently out in the sun, it's nearly impossible to produce enough these days. So it would take you literally prancing around practically naked for a couple hours a day to produce those levels of vitamin Ds, and most Americans are deficient, okay? Vitamin D plays many roles in our bodies, and one lesser known role is that it allows the brain to release melatonin, and that's so that we can fall asleep easier. So just think about when you've been out in the sun all day and are tired. As soon as you get home or as soon as night starts to fall, that's what's going on. That melatonin's being released and it's time for nighty-night. So this is why vitamin D is most effective when taken at night. Okay, so if you do take vitamin D and you're taking it in the morning or another time of day, you might just try switching it to the nighttime. I personally prefer the liquid drops and taking them sublingually, which means holding them under your tongue. Okay, and so this is like the best way to get it to absorb really quickly. And you can do this 30 minutes before bed. If you know you're going to take the caps, like the gel caps, then I'd recommend taking those about 60 minutes before bed, because your body needs time to digest that gel coating to get the actual vitamin D into your system, okay? Versus sublingually, well, it's going straight into your bloodstream that way, okay? And then along with that, so you're gonna drink all of this down with your serving of bedtime tea. And the brand that we really like is called Yogi Bedtime Tea, but there's numerous other brands out there. They're all gonna do the same thing. But this product was recently recommended to me by Calvin, and I find that it really does help with calming the mind and body before bed to improve sleep quality. So the main ingredients include California poppy, chamomile, and the one of the amino acids, which have all been found to be beneficial for reducing stress, increasing relaxation, and improving sleep. Okay, and you can purchase it on Amazon. Super easy. I'll give you the link. But also a lot of local health food stores carry this as well. Okay, so like I said, this simple combination, you can get these ingredients anywhere, and they seem to work quite well for improving quality of sleep. And most report sleeping through the night, waking without feeling groggy, and having improved recovery from exercise, as well as sharper cognitive function throughout the day. So I love if you guys try this out. If any of you are having sleep troubles, or even if you're not, give it a try and let us know how it works for you. I know it doesn't really even take 30 minutes for me to start getting drowsy after I've had this little concoction, okay? So I'm curious if it'll work the same for you. Let's talk a little bit about napping now. And we've already touched on this a little bit. We've touched about the benefits of sleep, but there's a lot of specific benefits to napping too, okay? And napping throughout the day is a great way to increase your exposure to the benefits of sleep, obviously, okay? Napping is a tried and true method that has been used by athletes for quite some time. So I know at the Olympic Training Center, they schedule their naps. They train, they eat, and then they nap. And then they train, they eat, and they nap. And they might do that 2 or 3 times a day. And they're required to nap. So even if they can't fall asleep, everyone heads back to their dorms, and it's quiet time, shut down the lights, and you're either resting or napping. Okay? And that's part of our Olympians training program. So why shouldn't it be part of yours? If you can work it into your day, if you know me, you know that I really think sleep is super essential. And, we live in a society where it's becoming more difficult to get in that recommended 8 hours, no matter how hard you try. So because of this, napping is considered a countermeasure for daytime fatigue and sleepiness. So like I said, instead of reaching for that caffeine, maybe try taking a nap. And there's actually, here's some benefits of napping, which is, as we know, increased growth hormone production, decrease in cravings for high-fat, high-sugar foods, and we talked about why a little bit ago, elevated mood, increase in creativity, improvement in memory, decrease in stress, and reduced risk of diabetes, heart attack, and stroke. So from these benefits, we can see that anyone, athletes and non-athletes, the young and the old, can benefit from taking a midday nap when the chance arises. So that begs the question, how long should you nap? This is where the sleep cycles really come into play, okay? So when you sleep, you normally pass through the 5 stages of sleep in a cycle that takes roughly 90 to 100 minutes. When you nap, you generally stay in stage 1 or 2, depending on how long you nap for, okay? So our 20-minute nap, this is really great to get rid of the sleepiness and boost energy. And we call that the 20-minute power nap. This is going to help keep you in that restorative stage 1 sleep, where the growth hormone is increased and cortisol is reduced, okay? 30 to 60-minute naps are usually discouraged because you'll generally wake it up in that stage 2 slow wave sleep during this time. And because of this, you may start feeling groggy. And it can take anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes to get back to full functioning after that. You guys may have experienced that in the past after napping. If you want to sleep for longer than 20 minutes but avoid sleep inertia, which is that that groggy feeling if you're woken up kind of too soon, then the 60 to 90-minute nap is time for you. And I know most of us don't have the luxury of being able to do this. So for you guys, that 20-minute power nap is going to be key. But if you are able to nap for 60 to 90 minutes, then this is where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. So when you nap for longer than 60 minutes, you generally awake in stage 2, the lighter dream state of sleeping. And this can benefit those who are involved in creative tasks. So you can make it through a whole sleep cycle in 90 minutes, basically. And now, when should you nap? So we got this handy nap wheel. We'll post this in the Facebook group. But people generally start to experience a dip in awareness, reasoning, judgment, and physiological responses around 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. each day. And this is, for most people, this is going to be the best time for napping. However, this nap recommendation is based off the time you wake up in the morning. So if you woke up at 7 a.m., then 2 p.m. is the best time for you to take a nap. If you wake up earlier than 7 a.m., then you need to, let's go ahead and check, or later, you would check out this sleep wheel, and you're going to find the perfect time to nap. So how the wheel works, you're going to drag the wake up time, and there's an interactive one I'm going to post for you guys. You're going to drag the wake up time to the hour you woke up. So let's say 7 a.m. And then you're going to follow the hours clockwise until you reach the point in the day when REM and slow wave sleep cross. So if you can see in this case where the yellow and the blue cross right at the tip of that green, that's the 2 p.m. And that's how we came about that. So like I said, we're going to post this on the Facebook group. It's interactive. So you can click on the link and you can drag it to whatever time you wake up, and then it's going to shift those circles around and give you your perfectly timed nap. Okay. So that little point where they cross, that's the perfectly balanced state in which REM and slow wave sleep are equally proportioned and where the ultimate nap occurs. So naps occurring before this crossing point will have more REM, and naps occurring after will have more shortwave sleep, okay? Of course, it's recommended that you don't take a nap 2 to 3 hours before your desired bedtime, though, as to ensure you don't disrupt your nightly sleep schedule, okay? So if you know you're going to be going to bed earlier that night, you might just have to tough it out and wait till you get to bedtime. Now, recently, actually, it's been almost a year, I found this really cool app on how to track your sleep. Okay, and so those who know me, and like I've been talking, you know that I take my sleep very seriously. I strive to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep each night, and I've set up my bedroom to make sure it's as high of quality as it can. So blackout curtains, no electronics an hour before bed, a fan to block the noise in the alley, etc., etc. But I actually had no scientific way of knowing how restful my sleep actually was until now. I started using this sleep app cycle almost a year ago. And now instead of just guessing as to the quality of my sleep, I have a record and a really cool graph to show my sleep cycles throughout the night. So you can see that on Saturday night, this past Saturday, I hit deep sleep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times. And I was actually in deep sleep for hours, okay? When you set the alarm at night, the app prompts you to enter sleep notes from the standard list and your custom notes. So I encourage you to create your own custom fields and keep track of things that both hinder and improve your sleep quality, such as eating out, drinking alcohol, drinking caffeine in the afternoon, eating a late meal, napping during the day, meditating, exercise intensity, etc. So you can see I went to bed at 9:45 p.m. It's telling me I woke up at 7:21 a.m. And my quality of sleep was 98%, which is pretty darn good. I slept for 9 hours and 36 minutes. And then my sleep notes, I just kept track. Typically, I try not to eat within 2 hours of bedtime, and I ate after 7 p.m., so I like to make a note of that. And I did eat out, and I always make a note of that because I know what I'm putting into my food, but when I'm eating out, I don't really know for sure what's in the food. Okay, so I like to make note of that. I also make note if I've had any coffee or tea, whether it was AM or PM. And I follow the ketosis diet, and we'll actually have a whole a lesson on that coming up. And so I like to note if I'm in mild ketosis, optimal ketosis, or very high ketosis, and I found that greatly affects my quality of sleep. Other cool things that it tracks are your heart rate, and that's my waking heart rate. It was 48 beats per minute on Saturday. The activity, those steps are a little bit off because I don't carry my phone on me all day long. If you had your phone on you all day long, that would be accurate. It's going to count those steps. So typically I have it on me when I'm walking to and from my car, and then otherwise I set it down, okay? And then you can see I've been doing 286 nights of recording my sleep, and the average time was 8 hours and 46 minutes a night. And if you look along the bottom bar, you can see there's statistics, trends, and you can go back and it'll actually start to tell you like, hey, when you have coffee in the afternoon, your sleep quality reduces by 2%. And it'll actually start to feed you that information. So then you can garner a little bit more and start to determine what's affecting your quality of sleep. So another thing that's really cool about this app is that you can use the alarm clock feature to wake you up in your lightest state of sleep so that you don't feel groggy. So for instance, if I set the alarm for 7 a.m. with a 1 hour range, which means the app would wake me up at my lightest stage of sleep between 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. It might wake me up at 6:54, which is when I was peaking in my light REM sleep, instead of me waking up at 7 when I've just started, into that next sleep cycle. Or if I was like in the middle of deep sleep, it would wait until I'm in the lightest stage sleep possible during that window of time I gave it, okay? And with this, upon waking, you're prompted by the app to rate your mood, and it also takes your pulse. So like I said, all of this data is captured into your nightly report and saved in the app for further review, okay? And you also have the ability to share this graph and information via email, Facebook, Dropbox, and it can communicate with other health-related apps on this phone, okay? So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with this, and I've been doing it for almost a year, and don't ask me how it works. There's the motion spectrometer or whatever in the phone. You actually put it face down on the corner of your bed, and it measures your movement throughout the night. So that's how it's determining what level of sleep you're in. I don't know how exactly scientific it is, but it is trending like your movement in your sleep. So if you're using it on a regular basis, then you'll know that it's accurate for you, okay, and your trends and the things that you're doing. What I've noticed is it is very accurate as far as if I have to get up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, or for example, the other night we had an earthquake, and those things did show up on the app as lighter stages of sleep. So I can tell how many times was I awake during the night. At the very top there, I woke up, like on this one, for example, I woke up about 5:45, and that's about when my little kitty furry alarm clock decides it's time to eat. So that totally makes sense. The other night when we had the earthquake, it was around 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m., and that showed me as awake, even though I wasn't, but that's because I'm sure my bed was vibrating and moving, all right? And I must have been in deep sleep at that point because I did not even feel it, all right? I'll give you the link to this app, but it's super easy to get started. You can download the app. It's $1.99, and there's also a bundle that contains not only the sleep cycle app, but the heart rate app and another one called Power Nap. So you can actually set your napping time and alarm to wake up in the appropriate cycle of sleep as well, right? And you can set for your 20-minute power nap or your 90-minute nap or whatever it is. And then you just follow the simple instructions on how to place it, and you're set for tonight. Super easy. So those are my sleep tips. A little bit of a review on today's material. We went over the 3 keys to recovery, which were nutrition, hydration, and sleep, how sleep affects inflammation, body composition, performance, recovery, and gains, what our brains have to do with sleep and how they regulate it. So sleeping in the dark and disrupting sleep before bed. And we talked about those 8 tips for a better night's sleep, napping, and monitoring your sleep quality. So as your homework, I would love for you, and even if you want to pick any one of those 8 tips, but the ones that I would suggest are committing to shutting off all electronics at least 1 hour before bed and using this time to recover from your day. So unwind and let your mind be at rest. Maybe meditating. And that was a challenge from a couple weeks ago. And I saw a couple people posted in the Facebook group that they were giving it a try. So maybe now's the time to give it another try if you hadn't yet, or using this time of night to do your meditation to help aid your sleep. And then I also challenge you to get rid of all light sources from your bedroom. And if you're unable to do that, try on a pair of the sleep shades. And I'm going to send you links to all of this stuff. You don't have to remember all the product names or anything. I'll send you a nice list with the email that goes out with the recording. And you guys should be good to go. Please post your suggestions, things that you've tried in the Facebook group. I know there's a couple of you who I've talked to who have had sleep troubles, and we're still trying to work on those issues. Maybe you found something outside of this that has worked really great for you. It'd be awesome if you shared it for the rest of the group. And then otherwise, I'll be with you guys in a few weeks again. But next week, like I said, you're going to revisit your goals and that goal setting worksheet. So definitely have that ready. Start to look at them and think about, how far you've come. You guys have come a long way. We're almost halfway through this program now, which is really cool. And hopefully you're already seeing some significant changes and feeling a difference in your day-to-day life and your energy and stamina and your memory and cognition and everything else that comes along with proper nutrition and rest and recovery. But otherwise, I will talk to you on the live Q&A. So see you soon.